A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Newsfirst Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannayaka. In the first phase of a rapid series of developments this evening, several former ministers of the UPFA government pledged support to President Maithripala Sirisena and announced that they had appointed him president of the SLFP. However, this was quickly countered at a media briefing convened at the SLFP headquarters, where it was said that the majority of the party continues to back the former president. But we have a comprehensive report coming up, but before that, here's a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President invites all parties to form the national government.
මේ උතුම් වූ ඉල්ලීම ආයාචනය පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නියෝජනය කරන සියලු දේශපාලන පක්ෂ පිළිගනිවයි මා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
The Anti-Corruption Front calls for information on persons involved in fraud and corruption. Stock of big onions that was to be destroyed in secret discovered in Anuradhapura.
And now for the stories in detail. President Maithripala Sirisena invited all political parties represented in Parliament today to join the all-party national government. He extended this invitation in his address to the nation from the premises of the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy.
Prior to his address to the nation at the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic, President Maithripala Sirisena received the blessings of the Mahasangha.
විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ ඓතිහාසික මහා පුදබිමේ සිට
Addressing you from this historical place of worship, as mentioned in our election campaign, we invite all political parties represented in Parliament to come together to create an all-party government, a national government, to help create a better future for the people of our country and of its future generations, to create a society of good governance, a society filled with moral and spiritual values, where the law reigns and freedom and democracy is established. I respectfully call on all members of Parliament to join us for the sake of the country, its people and its future. I believe that all political parties would accept our invitation and join us for this cause.
සියලු දේශපාලන පක්ෂ පිළිගනිවයි මා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
The president also guaranteed that he would act in line with the pledges made in his manifesto.
මැතිවරණ ප්‍රකාශනයේ සඳහන් කළ ආකාරයට විධායක
I wish to pledge to my beloved people from this sacred ground that I will, as noted in my manifesto, work to confer the limitless powers vested in the executive president to the parliament, the cabinet, the judiciary, the independent commissions and the public service. Just as we will give priority to the Sri Sambuddha Sasana, we will also work to uphold the freedom and rights of Hinduism, Islam, Catholicism and all other religions. We will guarantee the freedom of devotees of these religions to practice their religions. We will bring about religious and ethnic reconciliation. We will establish morality, discipline and fraternity among all people and take steps to rebuild our great motherland.
ගොඩනැගීම සඳහා සියලු කටයුතු අප විසින් ගන්නා බව කියන්නට ඕනේ.
President Maithripala Sirisena also called on the people to celebrate the victory peacefully.
අපේ රටට අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ රජෙක්.
I wish to say to you that our country needs a true human being and not a king. While I will carry out this service on behalf of my beloved people and fulfill the task entrusted to me, as I said on the occasion of my swearing in at Independence Square in Colombo, this was the first and last presidential election that I will contest. This victory will be a true victory only if all people act peacefully and with calm. Over the past 2 to 3 days, several minor incidents were reported from various parts of the country. We gave instructions to the police and the security forces to always act to ensure peace and calm. Thereby, in order to give meaning to this victory, we must all act to uphold our respect and our humanity. We must all act as true human beings in a fraternal spirit, casting aside divisions of political parties, religions, caste and creed.
මිනිසුන් ලෙස කටයුතු කිරීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා.
Now, prior to his address to the nation from Kandy today, President Maithripala Sirisena participated in multi-faith religious observances.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who arrived in Kandy from Colombo by air, first paid homage at the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic. A group including former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe accompanied the President. President Sirisena then arrived at the Malwatu Mahaviharya. The Mahasangha, led by the Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter, the Most Venerable Tibetuawe Sri Sumangala Thera, chanted Pirit and blessed the President. There may be groups that will use various schemes to undermine your unity. I think you should evade that. I believe that a parliamentary election will be held in another 3 months. In order to emerge victorious at the election, you will have to maintain this unity in the future. We can remember that in the recent past, in order to resolve problems in the villages like getting a road built, putting a child into school or securing electricity, the people had to take to the streets. They were made to demonstrate. In the end, these poor people were met with water cannons and rubber bullets. I remind you that you must pay special attention to the poor. Once again, I remind you to work with unity toward the future. We are aware that since only a short time has passed, schemes may be employed to topple the government. What he said is true. There are many false statements being made. I spoke to the DIG in Jaffna today. There has been no incident. Tiger flags have not been raised. I spoke to the TNA MPs and to Sambandhan. They said they would not allow anything of the sort. We spoke to the military and they too said there is no such incident and that the army remains there. President Maithripala Sirisena also met with the Chief Prelate of the Askiri chapter, the Most Venerable Udugama Sri Buddharakkhita Thera. The Mahasangha, led by the Chief Prelate, blessed the President and presented a memento to him. Daija Singhali is saying that when you wash the mud off, the farmer is suitable for kingship. I can say that this saying has been given meaning today. I wish to know that your ascent to the position of President of this nation is a source of true happiness for us at the Askiri Viharya. The President also met with the Chief Prelate of the Sri Lanka Ramanya chapter, the Most Venerable Napane Pemasiri Thera, at the Sri Vidyasagara Mahapirivena in Kandy. The President also visited the Bishop of Kandy, the Right Reverend Vianney Fernando, at the Bishop's residence in Kandy. The President also participated in Islamic religious observances at the Mira Makkah Mosque in Kandy. President Maithripala Sirisena also participated in religious observances at the Pullayar Kovil in Kandy and received blessings.
A group of former ministers of the UPFA government met with President Maithripala Sirisena this evening. Following the meeting, the group convened a media briefing and announced new appointments to positions in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party met this afternoon and appointed His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena as the President of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. This was done in terms of the Constitution of the SLFP. The committee also made some important appointments. Those appointments are as follows. As President of the SLFP, His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena. As Secretary of the SLFP, Mr. Duminda Disanayak. As the National Organizer of the SLFP, Mr. Janaka Bandara Tennakol. and as the treasurer of the SLFP, Mr. S.B. Navin.
It is the Central Committee that makes these decisions. The Central Committee decided today that he was a presidential candidate representing the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. This power is vested in the Central Committee. As per the Constitution, if the Central Committee decides that he, as Secretary, was victorious in the presidential election, then he becomes the president of the party. As per His Excellency's proposal, the Central Committee decided to appoint former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former President Sandika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga as patrons of the SLFP. The President and the Secretary of the SLFP contested the presidential election. We worked for the President and he was defeated. The Secretary was victorious. Therefore, by default, the Secretary becomes the President of the SLFP. Not only that, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former President Sandika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga were proposed by me as patrons of the party. Vijit Vijayamuni Soisa also expressed the following views.
Former Minister Nimal Sidipalati Silva says that the majority of the Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party continue to support former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Speaking at a media briefing convened at the SLFP headquarters this evening, he said that the statement that President Maithripala Sirisena had been appointed President of the SLFP was false. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was also in attendance at the media briefing. Let's take a look at some of the views expressed there.
It is evident that the majority of SLPs and UPFM members are with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa also attended the media briefing at the SLFP headquarters.
Parallel to President Maithripala Sirisena's visit to Kandy, a special motorcade travelled to Kandy, commencing its journey from the Independence Square in Colombo.
A group including parliamentarian Rajitha Senaratne and provincial councillor Hiruniga Premachandra took part in the motorcade. The motorcade commenced its journey around 8:30 am today after offering floral tribute to the statue of late D.S. Senanaika. The group led by Rajitha Senaratne, who arrived at the Horogolla Memorial, offered floral tributes as well. The Mahasangha bestowed their blessings and the public added their well wishes to the motorcade on its way towards Kandy. The group also paid homage to the temple of the sacred tooth relic.
The Anti-Corruption Front convened a media briefing this morning.
We request from all those who have any information about anomalies that have taken place with regard to major projects during the last 10 years to report to us on these malpractices without any fear. No one needs to be afraid. President Mahinda Rajapaksa is spreading the view that he will continue to be in politics. He is claiming that he continues to hold power. Those who carried out the unethical propaganda campaign of Mahinda Rajapaksa have come forward and are saying various things. We would like to tell Rajapaksa and those who speak on behalf of the Rajapaksas to not consider the innocent people's dislike towards violence, vengeance and their preference for non-violence as a weakness. We kindly request from those in the diplomatic service and the security service to come forward. We will assure you secrecy. Provide us with information about dealings with foreign and local tiger groups since the 2005 presidential election. Tell us about aid that was given through Radha from the Lanka project, the dealings that were carried out subsequently, the dealings done through South Africa. What happened to the property of Kumaran Padmanathan and the LTTE? We know that those in the security forces possess this information. Please provide us with this information within a period of a month.
Partly Champika Ranawaka also expressed views about an incident that took place on the day of the election.
On the day of the election, they tried to interfere with the results by issuing various orders to the army. This document is one of those orders. We have all the documents, the manner in which Gotabaya Rajapaksa deployed the army. We have all the lists, how an operation command was built, the manner in which they control the Colombo city. We express our gratitude to those who came forward to stop this at the risk of their lives. On behalf of democracy and our children, we express our gratitude to the IGP and Elections Commissioner for averting bloodshed.
We cannot count the number of acts of corruption and malpractices that took place in the country in the past. It was Anil Balakaya who made all the appointments of the state banking sector. The results of any of the exams that were conducted for appointments have not yet been released. Then we know about the law entrance exam. How did certain people get through? Incidents of this nature should not be repeated in this country. They robbed the money of the people. It was using the money of the people that these princes organized shows. They had car races in the sacred city of Kandy and violated the sacred grounds. They did that with the people's money. Therefore, we would like to request from the people to support us with the measures that we take. The main problem in Sri Lanka is that these racketeers change color with the government. At a time when we are building a civilized government and a democratic rule, if we are unable to free the country from these racketeers, then all our attempts would be fruitless. It is with this aim that we set up the anti-corruption front. You can contact us on 100/19 Valikada Road, or you can fax us or call us on 011-288-4583. Once we receive information, we will carry out an audit. Former Appeals Court Judge Ranjit Silva has expressed willingness to carry out this audit.
Venerable Ulapanesa Mangalathara says that the law will be enforced against persons who have left the country too.
The people used their vote against the nepotism of the Rajapaksa family and the large-scale corruption and the malpractice that is said to have taken place. We have received reports now that certain persons involved in this large-scale corruption are preparing to flee the country and that some have already fled. The name of former Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa has been reported as one of the people who has left the country with his family early this morning. Be it Basil Rajapaksa or anyone else, those who are responsible for stealing the money of the public and the nation's wealth must be brought before the law and must be punished. The people of this country are waiting to see if justice will be served.
Welcome back. You're with News First. BMUD Basnaik took office as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development today.
Subsequent to religious observances, BMUD Basnaik took office as the new Secretary at auspicious time at the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development. BMUD Basnaik, a former student of the Vikram Bahu Central College in Gampola, was the Secretary at the Ministry of Environment and was Administrative Officer at the Finance Ministry. A number of high-ranking officials, including the commanders of the 3 armed forces, were present at the event. His Excellency the President invited me to take office as the Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development. The mechanism that I enact, especially when working with officers based on our experiences, is to create a background where one can work with a spirit of friendliness. If this is not the case, the ability to work as a team is low. I spoke to the former Secretary to the Ministry of Defence yesterday. I know him personally and I received his blessings too. The task he and the armed forces have accomplished has been historic.
Newsfirst congratulates the newly appointed Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development. Meanwhile, Karunaratne Paranavithana has been appointed the Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media and Information. An event to celebrate the victory of President Maithripala Sirisena was organised in central Colombo yesterday.
A dansala was organised to distribute coffee and hoppers by the public of central Colombo at Wolfendal Street to celebrate the victory of President Maithripala Sirisena. He and Gotabe are preparing to take Kamala and Malini out and come and sit in the parliament. This is shameless. He thinks he will be able to create a government of his own with his members of the parliament. That time has gone. This country will not see racism again. We will not allow anyone to assault any race during our government. We have clearly shown that the power of the people is greater than the power of weapons, the power of thuggery and racism. And because of this, we must clearly state that we must understand this message that was given by the people very clearly. We must create a country where there is no thievery, corruption, waste and cheating, and a country where justice is empowered. If we do not create a law-abiding country, we will be beaten faster than the dictatorship was beaten. We must understand that.
අද ඔයිසි මාත්‍යාර කතා කරලා කිව්වා දැන් කුඩු තියෙනවා නම් ඔයා අල්ලන්න ඕනේ. නැත්තම් ඔයා කුඩු කියලා. අපි මට දැන් තොරතුරු ලැබෙනවා සුදුයන් කොහෙද මේ කවුද මේ කොළඹ ප්‍රදේශයේ ගෙනිච්ච කියලා. මේ සියලු දෙනා
We will bring all these people before the law. The law is being enforced in the country now. Political connections will not be taken into consideration now. We urge the police and the rulers to ensure that the law is definitely enforced in the country. Do not fear. Legal action will be taken against those who destroyed the country.
මේ රට කාපියුන්ට විරුද්ධව අනිවාර්යෙන් නීතිමය පියවර ගන්න ඕනේ. අපි ගන්න බල කරනවා.
Much attention was grabbed by social media during the run-up to the presidential election. The Facebook page of MP Sujiva Senasinghe secured a prominent position among other political pages that were receiving an increased number of likes.
According to the Social Bakers website, the official Facebook page of UNP parliamentarian Sujiva Senasinghe has received a large response up until last week. According to the website, the Facebook page of MP Sujiva Senasinghe was in front when compared with other political social media websites. The Facebook page of Indian Prime Narendra Modi, US President Barack Obama and President Maithripala Sirisena are in the forefront in the list of social media websites above the Facebook page of MP Sujiva Senasinghe. The calculations have been done based on points such as propaganda and other activities. Senasinghe's Facebook page likes grew exponentially over the past 6 months.
The Friday Forum says that our country now has a fresh chance to uphold the rights and fulfill the aspirations of all communities.
The Friday Forum congratulates President Maithripala Sirisena on his election and wishes him all success in the tasks that lie ahead. Issuing a statement, the Friday Forum also notes that the people of Sri Lanka must be commended for the change achieved peacefully through the robust use of the democratic process. The Friday Forum also expresses its appreciation of cooperation of outgoing President Mahinda Rajapaksa in the smooth transition of power. The organization notes that the Commission of Elections and his staff, the police, the many public servants involved in election duty and the monitors both local and foreign must also be thanked for the role they played with dedication and efficiency. The statement reads, quote, "We look forward to the speedy implementation of measures for the restoration and reinforcement of democratic norms, including the restoration of independent institutions by the repeal of the 18th Amendment and the long-awaited abolition of the executive presidency." Unquote. The Friday Forum also stresses the need for the development for an ethical political culture which should go hand in hand with tackling the social and economical challenges that lie ahead.
His Holiness Pope Francis will arrive in Sri Lanka in just 2 days.
His Holiness the Pope is the leader of all Catholics around the world. Since the Pontiff is the religious leader of a large cross-section of people living around the world, the Pope is welcomed with state honors when on tour. The responsibilities of a papal father differ from a state leader and are unique. Therefore, his visit is different from any other state leader. In the past, the Pope followed a tradition of not leaving the Vatican City, and this tradition was changed by Pope John Paul XXIII. Representatives of the Holy Pope have maintained diplomatic relations with various countries for over 380 years. It is important that a Pope receives the invitation of a head of state and the archdiocese of a country in order for him to visit a country. Archbishop of Colombo, Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit, extended an invitation to His Holiness Pope Francis, and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa too extended an invitation when he called on His Holiness. His Holiness Pope Francis, who accepted this invitation, will be visiting Sri Lanka in 2 days. The Holy Father is the spiritual leader. Welcoming His Holiness is a spiritual opportunity. Preparations are being carried out well. I would like to urge the public living along the Colombo-Katunayake main road to decorate the way His Holiness will be travelling after taking advice from a relevant parish priest. What we want is to welcome the Holy Father with a lot of love and affection. And we have a special request not to light firecrackers on the way the Holy Father is travelling. And we would like to request all of you living along and around the Katunayake-Colombo main road to come and witness the arrival of the Holy Father.
You're with News First. Still in local news, authorities have discovered a stock of Bombay onions, approximately 130,000 kilograms in weight, which was to be destroyed secretly in a storage facility in the Sravastipur area in Anuradhapura. The raid was carried out by the officers of the Office of the Health Director of Anuradhapura.
The Office of the Director of Health has received information of a stock of Bombay onions belonging to Satusa that was to be secretly destroyed at a storage facility in Sravastipura. The officers who arrived at the said storage facility today discovered the stock of Bombay onions that was to be buried. It was revealed that the stock was purchased from farmers over the recent past. When we arrived at the location, the public was taking away 25 to 30 kilograms of onions. Satusa has said that these onions were bad for consumption and were to be destroyed. When we inspected this storage facility, there was a huge amount of Bombay onions inside it. They were gathering it up using a backhoe and were burying them without weighing them. They were burying it in a way that the people could once again use it for consumption. Therefore, with the sole objective of securing the health of the public, we temporarily halted the destroying of this stock of Bombay onions. Officers of the Office of the Health Director stated that information came to light that the area residents were given the opportunity to take onions from this stock. Meanwhile, another stock of rotten Bombay onions belonging to Satusa was discovered in Oyamadua in Anuradhapura. This too was discovered by the officers of the Office of the Health Director. A similar stock of Bombay onions were found in the Bulnava area in Anuradhapura.
Moving on to news overseas now, at least 59 passengers were killed and scores wounded late last night when the bus they were travelling in caught fire after it collided with an oil tanker in Pakistan's southern city of Karachi. Footage broadcast on local TV stations showed the burnt-out remains of the bus, with firefighters continuing to douse the area with water. Dozens of bodies were seen lying nearby, covered with white sheets. Pakistan's local TV news station reported that the police said the bus had been carrying 55 passengers, including women and children, when it collided with an oil tanker. The report added that flammable material in the tanker made the resulting blaze difficult to control. World leaders are gathering in Paris ahead of a march in the French capital to show unity after 3 days of terror that left 17 people dead.
Some 40 leaders are to go to the rally, expected to dwarf yesterday's marchers that saw 700,000 take to the streets. About 2,000 police officers and 1,350 soldiers are being deployed across the French capital to protect the marchers. Police are seeking accomplices of the gunmen who attacked a satirical magazine and a kosher supermarket. The Interior Minister says France will stay on high alert in the coming weeks.
A rally against racism and xenophobia yesterday drew tens of thousands of people in the eastern German city of Dresden, which has become the center of anti-immigration protests organized by a new grassroots movement called Pegida.
Around 35,000 people attended the rally that was jointly organized by the state government of Saxony and the city of Dresden. A recent survey conducted before Wednesday's deadly attack on a French satirical magazine showed that an increasing majority of non-Muslim Germans feel threatened by Islam. Meanwhile, a German newspaper in the northern port city of Hamburg that reprinted caricatures of Prophet Muhammad from the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo was the target of an arson attack. The regional tabloid daily, the Hamburger Morgenpost, was attacked today after it had splashed 3 Charlie Hebdo cartoons on its front page after the massacre at the Paris publication, running the headline, "This much freedom must be possible." According to the police, no one was hurt in the attack, adding that 2 people were detained, while state security has opened an investigation.
The Indonesian search team says a sonar scan has detected a large object on the seabed believed to be the fuselage of flight QZ-8501.
Indonesian search teams believe a sonar scan has detected the fuselage of the AirAsia airliner that crashed 2 weeks ago, with the loss of all 162 people on board as divers were checking the find today. Searchers have also been hearing pings believed to be from the aircraft's black box flight recorders near where the tail of the Airbus A320-200 aircraft tail was raised yesterday. Teams of divers in rubber dinghies battled the swell to attach inflatable balloons to the tail section, which was later hauled onto a rescue vessel.
And in sports news this evening, New Zealand claimed victory in the first ODI against Sri Lanka today.
Sri Lankan skipper Angela Matthews decided to bat first after winning the toss at Christchurch. Sri Lanka were 82 for the loss of 4 wickets as Mahalaja Wardena and Laharuthi Rimanna maintained a 73-run partnership for the 5th wicket. Mahalaja Wardena, who brought life to the Sri Lankan innings, scored his 18th ODI century with a knock of 104 runs, while 6 other batsmen failed to score double figures. At the end of the 50 overs, Sri Lanka managed 218 runs for the loss of 9 wickets as Kiwi pace bowler Mitchell McClenaghan took 4 wickets for 36 runs. Kiwi batsman Martin Guptill was dismissed for a duck as New Zealand began their reply for Sri Lanka's 218. Brendan McCullum scored his 27th ODI half-century while building up a 63-run partnership for the 2nd wicket. Corey Anderson and Nathan McCullum built a 60-run partnership for the 7th wicket, during which Anderson scored his 2nd ODI half-century with 81 runs. T. N. Dilshan and Nuwan Kulasekara took 2 wickets each. New Zealand won the match at the end of 43 overs, having lost 7 wickets.
Well, that's a wrap from the Newsfirst team for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudannayaka. Good night.